Hello everyone. Myself I am Dr. Parves Mohammed, working as an associate professor, Department of CSE, Marri Reddy Institute of Technology and Management. Today I am going to explain about historical development of DBMS and advantages of DBMS. We are going to discuss about the database system advantages. Meanwhile, before that, what are the factors, what are the core reasons which database system is implemented, the background story of DBMS, that is called historical development of DBMS, that is we are going to discuss in today's session. So according to the DBMS history, previously in the year of 1960, early 1960, there was a database system. The database system is not named as database system, it was a file processing system. In previous days, olden days, the database system is called as file processing system. The file processing system is having a lengthy of data storage. It's a very complex data storage. It is unable to store much more data, as well as it is unable to process the data. It is unable to share the data in much more format. So those are all the different types of issues which are raised in the olden days before the development of the database system. In the year of 1960, the Charles Batchman's integrated data store, it is called IDS, Charles Batchman integrated data storage. IDS was there in the year of 1960. During that time, the organized data, you can see the organized data that can be formed as a tree structure. It is like a tree structure that we will say as a hierarchical structure. So usually what happens in hierarchical structure is it follows one to many concept. There was a node that is furtherly associated with other two nodes. So there was a tree structure in the IDS system. That system was the earliest system in the year of 1960. It was invented for the implementation for the storage of the data. But that data was not at all that much used. It is not that much used because it is having a connectivity. It is having a connection between one file to another file. While the data is stores, one file requires a source to another file, and that file requires a source to some other file. So due to that reason, the complex data is unable to store, and there was a data dependency. The major drawback of that system is data dependency. One file is dependent on another file, and that file is dependent on some other file. So this was the system is happened in the year of 1960, and the majorly it was a dependency form of data. Due to the dependency form of data, the system IDS system was not that much popular, and for that again one author is there, his name is E.F. Cott. You can say Edgar F. Cott, E.F. Cott. E.F. Cott, what he have done is why we should dependent from one file to another file. Instead of depending from one file to another file, why we can't go for independency of the data? Because when one file is dependent on another file, if one file is there, this file is dependent on some other file. If the dependency is there, then we are unable to share, we are unable to retrieve, we are unable to manipulate, we are unable to process in an easy way. To avoid such this type of issue, E.F. Card, he started invention of the data storage as he focused on independency of the data. He don't want to be a data dependency. He wants to be a data independency. If the data is independent, then everyone easily can share the data. So that basic idea was implemented by E.F. Card, and E.F. Card, he started research on database system in the year of 1970. You can see transforming database management system. He invented a system that is called transforming of data from one file to another file. Transforming of data, he focused on transforming of data. The major role, the major motto of the data is a transformation. Before that, we don't have any transformation. We have data dependency. We have duplication of data, and we have limited data sharing. We have lengthy development times, and we have an it is called extensive program maintenance. So this type of issues are there earlier before the database system. That issues which are called as file processing system disadvantages over the database system, over the advantage of database system. Meanwhile, before that, we have disadvantages of file processing system. That disadvantages were going to be solved by the database system. EF card gave the basic idea and implementation of the database system. So here actually, what is a database? What is a database? And how this database came into the existence? And before that, what are the disadvantages of the file processing system? That we'll discuss. Okay. So meanwhile, see, what is a database? Database, basically, as we know, that database system is a collection of large amount of data. A data which always focuses on data storing, data retrieving, data manipulations. So whenever we are working with a complex structure of the data, then we will say that it is a database. So a database is a collection of large amount of data which is used to store, retrieve and manipulate. So the database system effectively, it is an effective interface between user and computer. A end user, okay, who can work with different types of data, and the data storage is possible in the database system. So database system supports what? Database system supports multiple users, a big data storage, data retrieving operations, data manipulation operations, and other SQL or other operations. That is called structured query language or MySQL and other query operations. So we can say that a database system is always stores a complex amount of data, whereas before the database system, whatever the systems are invented, whatever the earlier systems are there, that systems unable to store complex structure of the data. They are unable to store the complex data. Okay, a database management system primarily stores, manage large amount of data, and as we know, we can maintain the data complexity, we can maintain data integrity, we can maintain data consistency, and we can maintain a huge storage of the data. So as I told you just now, there was a evaluation of this database system, how it is there in the 1950, how it is there in the 1960. Okay, so before that, here we have an evaluationary part. 1950 and earlier 1960, we used magnetic tapes. There at that time, the data is unable to store in a complex structure. There the data is having a magnetic tape structure. How like we have database system, a data warehouse nowadays. In the previous olden days, earlier days, in the year of 1950 to 60s, at that time, through with the help of magnetic tapes, we used to store the data. And after that, in the year of 1960 to 70, a widespread of hard disk drives are introduced. With that hard disk drive, 1960s, a evaluationary change occurred, and in that the data storage patterns are somewhat changed, and they turn up to data storage in a historical manner. That means along with the hard disk drive, along with the components, we can say that components, along with that components, they used to store the data in a specific disk drives, where in the disk drives they focused on how data storage are possible previously compared to 1950 to 60, and here in the 60 to 70, earlier rapid changes are occurred, and they have made data storage patterns as in a much more format. And after that, in the year of 1980s, okay, the almost rapid changes came in the year of 1980 also, and the performance of the data storage, the performance of the data accessibility, the performance of the data storage, and the capacity of the data storage, they have increased. Previously, there was no that much scope to store much more data. How the changes are occurred, how the implementations are occurred in the technology. So according to that, they have made a rapid changes, and they come to know that the much more data storage expandability is taken place. They expanded the data storage in a much more format. And after the 1980s, in the early 1990s, along with the data storage, along with the database system architecture, they went for a query language. You can say that it is a SQL, structured query language. A SQL is a structured query language where the language accepts the data in the form of tables, and all the tables data that can be stored in the table structure, and we can perform data manipulation operations, data storage, data retrieving, data deleting, data updating, and alterations, that is called altering of the data. So different types of operations that we can perform on the SQL. So that SQL language was designed primarily, and the applications which are implemented with database storage, the applications that are called query applications. So whatever the queries are there, all the query applications that can be associated with SQL. SQL is associated with data storage. So data storage and SQL both will play an important role for database system. That was happened in the year of 1990s. And in the year of 1990s, again after the year of 1990s, before 2000 or 2000 beyond, you can say. So at that time, the world wide web applications, the world wide web application, that is called external database system. Basically, we have some types of database systems. In that, there are 5 types of database systems. One is personal database, workgroup database, department database, enterprise database, intranet, and extranet database. So the intranet and extranet database system, which was implemented 2000 beyond. So whatever the old database systems are there in the year of 1990, 1980, 1970 and 1960, all the database system applications are converted into the new database technology, that is called 2000 beyond, and extra the worldwide web applications are boost up for this old database technology. And because of that reason, we can say that here database were developed much more extensively. There is a rapid change in the development of the database, that is called 2000 and 2000 beyond. So the 2000 beyond, the data storage patterns are changed, the cloud storage are occurred, and worldwide web applications are processed, and advanced languages. What I said that previously, that is called SQL. Along with that SQL, HTML, XML, okay, DHTML, and other web applications, web technologies applications were added, and the front end is a website, and the back end is a database support. Front end is a software, back end is a database. Such this manner, the new applications were implemented 2000 beyond. Before 2000 beyond, before 2000, the technology is there, but there was no that much of scope for the database. The database system is unable to go for complex data storage. As I told you just now, in the year of 2000 and 2000 beyond, the worldwide web applications are added. As I told just now, the extensive markup language, along with that, the external database system. A external database system is a database system that can store the data it is in a cloud format. It can store the data as a worldwide web application. A huge amount of data that we can store along with the worldwide web applications. So that was implemented after 2000 and 2000 beyond. Okay, so that is happened in the 2000 beyond. Before this, you can say DBMS. Before this, DBMS versus file processing system. Before the system is file process system. After, in the year of 1950s and 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, 1990s and 2000 beyond, after that, the rapid changes, whatever I said just now. So all those things that are differentiated Before in the system, before the database system, the file processing system is a lengthy system. As I told you, there was a huge drawbacks are there in that system. That is disadvantages, you can say disadvantages of file processing system, that are called program data dependency. I have given here 5 disadvantages of file processing system. That is called program data dependency, duplication of data, limited data sharing, lengthy development time, and excessive program maintenance. So program data dependency, what I told you previously, that is network database. So how like we have network connections. Program data dependency means the files which are dependent on from one file to another file. Duplication of data. There was a duplication of data in the data storage, and limited data sharing. There is no much more flexibility, there is no much more shareability for the data storage in the olden days. That is called a file processing system. As I told you, limited data sharing, very limitedly the data is going to be shared, and a lengthy development time. It is a very lengthy time to develop an application. It is a very lengthy time to develop the, to store the data, to associate or work with the data storage. And excessive, finally excessive program maintenance, that is called expensive program maintenance. It is very costly program maintenance. Files are unable to store, it takes much more expensive price. So these are all the drawbacks of the file processing system. That drawbacks, that 5 drawbacks are overtaken by the database system, and that database system having the advantages comparing to the file processing system. Previously, there was a evaluation in the database system. How this evaluation came is because of the disadvantages of the file processing system. Over the disadvantages of the file processing system, the database system came into the existence. And in this database system existence, there are different types of evaluations are there. 1950 database system, 1960s database system, 1970s, 1990s, and 2000 beyond database system. So after this development, along with this development, we have advantages. We have the advantages of the database system. The advantages of the database system are program data independency. I can say the program data independency, because in file processing system we have dependency of the data. We have program data dependency, but when we comes to database system, the database system having program data independency, minimal data redundancy. Number 2, that is minimal data redundancy. And next, improved data consistency, improved data quality, improved data sharing, improved data security, improved data accessibility, and data integration was maintained in the database system. And we can say that increased productivity of application development tool. The productivity of the applications are increased, and focus on the data, enforcement of standards. The standards are increased, much more increased comparing to the file processing system, and focus on the data. So here I am going to give a detailed information about the advantages also. Here the advantages are, I gave, first I selected, that is data security. Data security is one of the major aspect of the DBMS. Whenever you want to store the data storage always be associated with data security. So the more accessible and unusable database, that is called security of the data. The security of the data, of course it has a issue, that security issues are there. We have to be protect our data, we have to give proper authentications of the data, and then we have to maintain the data in a safety manner. That comes under data security. So data security is a high risk of the data. Actually it is a fact, the fact which tells that data storage, if you have maintained a proper authentications, that authentications allows us to maintain the data for a long period of time. If you have not maintained proper authentications, then the data may collapse, or the data may theft, or the data may be stolen by some other users. So whenever you are going for data security, the data security is the primary basic concept, and it is the advantage of the DBMS, and it helps us to store the data for a long period of time. We may go for long period of time. if you are not storing the data in a proper form, if you are not maintaining the data in a appropriate manner, that is called proper authentications are not given, then you may lose your data. So that was the information related to data security. It is the first advantage of DBMS, that what I have chosen. And here data integration. The second one is data integration. Data integration is maintain the data, complex data in one format, wherever the heavy data, large amount of data that can be associated with some keys, that is called primary key, and along with that keys the data can be maintained in a well manner, and it works for a long period of time. The integration of the data here is there. The integration of the data, particularly organizations that are maintain the integration of the data. So maintaining data integration is a crucial factor. To maintain the data integration, we need to store the data in a proper form. We need to provide backup facilities for the data, and we have to manage the data in one set. That is, we have to store the data in a one format. We have to store the data for a single structure, or we can go for multiple storages. But whatever the storage you are performing, we have to remember that data security and data integration. We have to maintain data integration. The database system is itself maintains data integration. And next we have data abstraction. The purpose, major purpose of introduction of this data abstraction is it develops the data, okay, and hidden changes. Whatever the hidden changes, whatever the hidden patterns are there, that can be stored. The hidden patterns of the data is called data abstraction. The hidden patterns of the data that we can go for data abstractions. Data abstraction is one of the advantage of the DBMS, and reduction of the data redundancy. See, just now some time back I said that file processing system has disadvantages. In the disadvantages, program data dependency, okay, program data dependency, and what we call data duplications are there. Data duplications are there in the file processing system. That are the disadvantages. When we comes to advantages of the DBMS, the program data independency, okay, and what we call data sharing, data accessibility, and other things are introduced. So data redundancy, the reusability, I will say here it is a reusability. The reusability of the data is much more used in the database system. So DBMS provides a feature of the data duplication, and this data duplication is possible with the help of data reusability. There is no condition that we should not use the data in a single type or in only one or two ways. We can use the data as number of times. We can share the data to number of users among multiple users, and we can go for data sharing, data retrieving, data manipulations, and data redundancy concepts, because reusability will take much more aspect. Reusability will take much more scope. That's the reason why here the fourth point it was given as reduction or redundancy of the data with the help of reusability. And data sharing, as I told you, data sharing, improve data sharing, improve data consistency, improve data accessibility, and improve data performance. These four are the major facts of the database system. They comes under advantage. Whereas in the previous days, file processing system, there is no improved data sharing. It is a limited data sharing. There was limited data sharing. But when we comes to advantage of the database system, it is called improved data sharing, improved data quality, improved data accessibility, increased productivity of application development tool, number of applications that can be developed, and for that the background, the data storage, the background patterns, that is called data storage, we can attach. So here the fifth point, that is data sharing. It is called improved data sharing. One of the major aspect of the database system is improved data sharing. Data consistency is also one of the major aspect. Data consistency is the sixth point. So data sharing, data consistency, and along with the data accuracy. Maintaining data in a proper form is a crucial factor of the database system. That was associated, that was there in the DBMS. Previously, we don't have data accessibility. Previously, we don't have data sharing. Previously, we don't have data accuracy. If it is having, it is in the limited form. Not it should be, it is in the limited form. But when we comes to the database system, it is prior that data sharing is an important aspect. It is clearly given that data consistency we have to maintain, data accuracy we have to maintain, data quality we have to maintain, and increased productivity of the applications. Whatever the apps we are developing, every app application productivity can be maintained by the database system. The background support of the app is a database system where the entire app information that can be stored in the database system. So that is the accuracy of the data. If the accuracy of the data is there, then we can say that the data can be maintained for a long period of time. And one of the major advantage of the database system is accuracy of the database and the data organizations. All these factors, data sharing, improved data consistency, improved data accessibility, increased productivity of applications, okay, improved data accuracy, all these things belongs to the organizations, belongs to the companies, belongs to the sectors where they want to maintain the data of the customers, where they want to maintain the data of different people. So the data organizations which are used for symmetric approach, and it is a easier way for them to maintain the data for a long period of time. The complex data structures, the complex data that can be maintained by the DBMS, and that is an important aspect for the organizations. And an efficient data access and retrieval, that is also the advantage of the DBMS. If the data is in the efficient manner, then only a user can store, retrieve and manipulate. He can perform all database operations. If the data is not in efficient manner, if the data is missing data is there, then the user is unable to work for a long period of time. The user is unable to store the data for a long period of time. So if missing values are there, if any missing data is there, that missing data is also one of the drawback. So that missing data that is not maintained in the database system, it is the data access and it is the data retrieval. Data retrieval, while we are sending the data from one place to another place, or while you are retrieving the data from the Google or from the database. So whenever we are retrieving the data, it comes under data retrieval. And concurrency and maintaining atomicity. Okay, so the concurrency is also one of the advantage of DBMS. The concurrency says that the multiple data storages, multiple database operations that can be performed, okay, that can be performed in the database system. If some of the operations is performed in one particular table and in the database, that changes were reflect to the another particular table in the database. For example, consider as here we have two sheets. Okay, we given a consolidate from one sheet to another sheet. Consider as in a specific sheet I have employee data, and in another sheet I have department data. Employees data is there, department data is there. In these two sheets, employee IDs are unique. In sheet 1, I am maintaining employee record. Their employee IDs are there. Employee ID 0, 101, 102, 103, like that. The same employee IDs I am maintaining in the department table. This is an employee table and is in a department table. Here I have employee numbers 101, 102, 103, etc. Okay, that's the second table. I am maintaining the same employee number 101, 102 and 103, etc. Here for the first table, I am giving primary key. Here for the second table also I am giving primary key. You see, this is the beauty of the database system. Now here I done the changes in employee table. The changes are reflected in the department table. If I done the changes in the department table, that changes were reflected to the employee table. So whatever the changes you are doing in one table, that table changes were going to occur in the second table. So we are requesting the changes from one table to another table. That is called concurrency of the database. Okay, so an employee may be same. He is having the data in two different tables. He is having the data in employee table, he is having the data in department table. If I made the changes in the employee table along with the number of 101, the same employee number is there in the second table, department table. There, whatever the department name, location, and the department designation, country, city is there, there the changes will be reflected. That can be possible in the database system. And next, final advantage is scalability and flexibility. It is not belongs to particular user. Database system is not at all belongs to a specific user. We can't say that only this many particular users have to use database system, rest of the other users should not use database system. We don't have such this type of limitations. It is scalable, it is flexible, it is convenient to any type of user. Any user, end user, client user, site, system administrator, database administrator, normal user, people, clients, everyone who can interact with the database system, and for them learning and managing the data, associating with the data, sharing the data, retrieving of the data, manipulations of the data, for them is not a big issue. It is very easy to understand, it is very easy to share the data, implement the data. That's why I said that it is given that scalability and flexibility of the database system. The flexibility of the database system states that it is flexible to all category of users. None of the users who are not using database system, everyone who are not associated with the database system, so everyone that can be used database system. We can't say these people are not used, we can't say that this many people are not using. So everyone in our day-to-day life also, everyone's having a database. They are maintaining the database in their mobiles, they are maintaining the database in their systems, they are maintaining the database in their labs, laptops, and etc. So everywhere we have the database system, it is a flexible to all the users. It is not at all belongs to the specific users. So these are all the different types of advantages of the database system, and these advantages are the over the disadvantages of file processing system. These are all the advantages. Over the disadvantages in file processing system, we have the disadvantages. The disadvantages are program data dependency, duplication of data, limited data sharing, lengthy development time, excessive program maintenance. Those are all the disadvantages. Over the disadvantages of the file processing system, the advantages of database system. Along with these 10 advantages, I can say that program data independency, one of the major advantage of the database system. Program data independency, minimal data redundancy, improved data consistency, improved data quality, improved data sharing, improved data accessibility, increased productivity of application development tool, and enforcement of standards. Enforcement of standards states that every data, whatever the files we are storing, every data should maintain standards. Every data, every file, every associated organization, every database should maintain the standard. That is called enforcement of standard. Once data stored in the database system, no one can touch the data until unless you did not receive the data, until unless you did not give proper passwords, until unless you did not give proper authentications, we can't use the data. So that is called enforcement of standard. And focus on data. Without data, there is no database system. So we have to be focused on the data. If data is there in our hand, then we can work with the database system. If data is there with us, then we can go for data storage, data applications, data implementation, data manipulations, data retrieving, data deletions, so many things, data altering, that is called update, modifications, deletions, so many things we can perform. So focus on the data means without data there is no database system. Okay, so all these are all the advantages over the disadvantages of the file processing system. So here I can conclude that in this session today I am going to conclude that this session is concluding that overall database system offers several advantages. All these advantages, whatever we have discussed, 10 advantages we have discussed, along with that some of the more advantages also we have discussed, and beyond that the disadvantages of the file processing system. Whatever the file processing system disadvantages are there, all those disadvantages were overtaken by the database system, and this database system is directly, it is not came into the existence directly. It has some evaluationary part. It was started in the year of 1950. Then 1960 EF card, he has given a basic definition and implementations of the database. Then in 1970, 1980s, 1990s, 2000 and after 2000 beyond, and along with that the intranet and extranet database system, the World Wide Web applications, cloud applications, all the different categories of the applications that are part of associated with the database system. So in my session today, I am concluding that over the disadvantages of the database system, the advantages of the database system are much more. Advantages of the database system are more flexible, convenient, and because of the issues of the file processing system, the disadvantages of the file processing system only, the database system came into the existence, and this database system has lots of advantages, and these advantages are defined for data sharing, data retrieving, data manipulations, and other operations. So I can conclude that over the disadvantages of the file processing system, advantage of the database system, DBMS, and evaluationary part of the database system that was came into the existence. Because of this reason, due to these facts, we are using the database system. Okay, so the reference what I have used for this session is database system concepts, that is the author Henry E. Korth and S. Sudarshan. Okay, I hope you understood. Thank you. Thank you very much.